putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Ask you the same question. Do you think the American party see the difference between the two parties? That one publicly and with some pain have expressed a belief in women's rights to not being bothered by men, and that it cost them a senator they respected a lot, who spoke their language a lot, and they're willing to show that even they care about this issue enough to sacrifice somebody basically like this that they could have used in further arguments. And the Republican Party, which we just heard from the cynical voices of Newt Gingrich and Laura Ingraham, I mean, these people are quite openly saying they're not going to use that standard. They're not even going to apply the standard. Jason, your thoughts about the possibly positive education that the public are – I don't know how you can avoid the education in this. The worst you can say about the Democrats is they're too pure. And that's the stupid thing to say, but that's the worst thing you can say about it. These guys set too high a standard for public office. How's that for an argument? My opponents, the party of my opposition, they set too high a standard. You know, come on. What do you think?
Welcome back, everybody. What do you think? Have the Democrats set too high a standard for office, Bill Clinton? Have the Democrats set too high a standard of office, Hillary Clinton? Have the Democrats set too high a standard of office, Susan Rice? I mean, how many Democrats do you need to go through? Conyers? Franken? A high standard. There's a high bar to get over for you to be a Democrat. Oh, boy. Ooh, you don't want to try to do that. They're just too pure. That's what what's his name? Chris Matthews. That's what he wants us to believe. The Democrats are too pure. And we wonder why they completely ignore the obvious scandals in Obama's scandal-free administration, right? And what about everything that's been revealed over the past year about these scoundrels? We talked about this, but it's worth repeating. Debbie Wasserman Schultz colluded with the Clinton campaign against other Democrats. I mean, think about that. Other Democrats were her target. Then, as we know, her days are not over in the public eye. Debbie will come back. She's going to face scrutiny about her involvement with the Alwan brothers. And you guys heard me. I said I think Debbie was involved in some sort of a sexual tryst with them. They had more dirt than the normal on Debbie. Y'all think I'm playing? Debbie Wasserman Schultz probably has some, sex tapes. I hate to be speculating on things, but you cannot let these people have unfettered access to the data, Democrats' data, fight to not get them fired, fight to get your computers back, threatening to fire Capitol Hill police, and on, getting yourself more and more intertwined in the nonsense, the malfeasance that happened with these people, knowing their background, their ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. Something bigger is going on here. And my suspicion is little Debbie was like Debbie doing D.C. You know what I'm saying? And then what about Donna Brazile? She takes over the DNC. She comes in at a time where she's like, okay, it's Trump versus Hillary. I got to help Hillary. So she's giving her information on the debates. But then as she digs into what's going on with the DNC, she starts to notice, wait a minute, Hillary's being crooked. Why are we doing beholding having to check with Hillary on all this other stuff? What is this donation that Hillary made to the DNC, but then she gets to call the shots? And what is all this crooked stuff going on with Bernie? And of course, then there's Bernie. Bernie sold out. He said, you know what? I'm willing to get out because, I'm a socialist and I want to help America, but I want to help these people, to help these kids and stuff. But, it's crooked, but I better get out. Give me my money. So he takes his money. I know I sound more like Jackie Mason, but there's a difference in the Jewish accents. Jackie Mason's more like this here, whereas Bernie Sanders talks more like this. Not that, like this. He sort of drags things out like this, like Gru. But Jackie Mason talks a lot like this. He talks like he's got bubbles in his mouth. Not that I'm making any distinctions here. Okay, so what else we got? Barack Obama. He concocts a story. Well, a group of people, they concoct a story about Russian involvement in our elections after Barack Obama says, ain't no way the Russians could interfere. I mean, come on now, y'all. And then they told us, well, whoever loses the election should just concede and everything should be okay. And, anyone who would dare say that it was unfair and all that is just thwarting the entire, election system. And, of course, that's exactly what they do. So, meanwhile, while the DNC, Hillary are colluding and concocting Russian stories, but then saying that the Russians can interfere, we find out that the people who are interfering are all tied back to the Podesta group when they were working with Paul Manafort and so on and so forth. But they want to put it all on Donald Trump. Now we've got Russian hackers and everything, and that's how the election was lost on Hillary's part. It wasn't because of Hillary. And then forget colluding with the Russians. We talked about this before as well. What about colluding with the NSA and the FBI and what Barack Obama, Susan Rice, and all of this team did to set up General Flynn, to use evidence gathered illegally to put him in have him twisting in the wind, all to try to get to Trump, which they still haven't and never will. But what about the collusion of that? Who authorized that? Where is that trail going to lead? We all know where it leads. And then when they get caught, well, what do? They use the FBI to cover it up. They put their guy in, Mueller. He covers for, they had Comey there, but Mueller then covers for all of Comey's, mishandling. Could you mishandle the case of Hillary Clinton any better? Could you lie more effectively than Comey to the people's face? What have we found out that this dude lied to? Well, we didn't take any notes during the meetings. We didn't put Hillary Clinton under oath. We didn't swear her in. We didn't put her before Congress so she'd have to answer these questions. Then, what do we find out about Mueller's team? The person who was heading it up, a person that Mueller brought to his team, was a crooked guy who loved Hillary Clinton, donated to her campaign, hated Donald Trump, and he led every step of that investigation. And these guys want to talk about, Chris Matthews says they're pure? Find me a bureaucrat in D.C. under the Obama administration who was pure. And let me tell you why that's almost impossible. Because once you get a government job and you're making $150,000, $200,000 a year to do absolutely nothing, why would you fight that? You won't believe this, but I'm going to tell you a little secret. There are people in government jobs right now who run more successful businesses outside of their government jobs simultaneously. They go to work, they have their computer up, but they have another computer that they use to do whatever business they're doing. They run cell phone businesses, they're on their cell phone talking about their other business while they're drawing that fat government check. Then they got that fat government pension. And probably the business that they're running, believe it or not, is a business that relies on information they get from the government or products. Did you hear about this warehouse they had in D.C.? It was so big that these guys had set up a man's cave. But everybody knew, the people that knew about it would go to the man cave, and they had furniture, flat screen TV, stereos, you name it. It was set up, refrigerator, the whole thing. They'd ordered all this stuff on the government credit cards, set up a man cave. The warehouse was so big, nobody knew about it except the people that were doing it. Can you imagine a warehouse that's so many millions of square feet that like a warehouse supervisor doesn't even know it, or he's in on it so everybody gets their little thing? I told you guys stories where I would go into a government building. There'd be the fresh load of Dell computers. So many they couldn't put them in the warehouse. They had to put them in the hallway. And then I'd go up about 3 weeks later to go visit the same command, and the computers had been picked off. You could tell people had just, boxes, they weren't evenly distributed. They were, I knew they were all there. Say they were set up 4x16, down the wall. And suddenly there's spots where boxes are missing. And I pointed to it one time with the GS-15 it was doing the deals with. He's like, people take them. That's what he said. People take them. They just take them home. So that's the kind of stuff that goes on with government. So these guys are living the dream off the taxpayers, and we expect them to change it. The reason why it's changing is because Donald Trump is bringing people there who don't need that. They understand it's not their money, so they're going to be good stewards of it, and they are wealthy themselves. So they're like, look, you can't keep doing this. I told you guys, Donald Trump's going to audit the Pentagon. There are some scared people right now. With that, maybe we'll get to this tomorrow. Scared people on this audit. And the reason is, when they audit the Pentagon, they're going to find out the waste. They're going to get subcontractors, and those subcontractors are going to point the finger back to congressmen. It's going to get ugly.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.